Hello and welcome. I am Exolite and this is my channel. As many of you know, my favorite place on this planet is New Orleans. So today I'm going to introduce you to a haunted mansion in the Garden District. Before we get started, if you would please give this video a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. If you are not subscribed and you would like to be, please do so, and if you do, please click that bell so that you'll be notified when my content goes live. And if you are enjoying the 31 days of Halloween, there is a button below that's a thank you button, and it's for tips. It's not necessary, but greatly appreciated, since most of my content is not monetized. Alright, you guys, let's talk about this, shall we? Alright, let's talk about the Magnolia Mansion. This Greek Revival mansion is by far one of the most magnificent in the entire Garden District, which is pretty hard to do. It was built in 1857 by Alexander Harris for his beloved wife, Lizzie. Unfortunately, in 1869, Mr. Harris died in one of the many yellow fever epidemics that ravaged the city of New Orleans. Doctors of that time had no knowledge of tropical medicine and had no idea that mosquitoes breeding in water carried this volatile disease. Yellow fever attacks the liver, and its victims become jaundiced and run high temperatures until they vomit blood and a black, grainy substance. Then they fall into a coma and die. Just as a side note, many of those people were taken and piled up on the side of streets so they could be burned, and oftentimes they found people who were still alive. They had just been in the coma part of the dying process. Some even managed to survive after their family found them and took them out. What a horrific ordeal that would be. Those lucky enough to survive this disease became immune to it. Because the disease was so uncontrollable, those who suffered from it were quarantined in their homes, where most of them died. This would certainly explain why his spirit frequents Magnolia Mansion. 10 years later, his widow sold the property to a man named Mr. McGinnis. Then, on July 4th, 1889, a major hurricane hit the Gulf Coast. Mr. McGinnis was staying there at the time, and he was killed by a bolt of lightning while attempting to free a tree branch from his roof. His funeral was held in his New Orleans home, now known as Magnolia Mansion. During the thunderstorms, the sounds of his footsteps can be heard walking on the roof. Every 4th of July weekend, Magnolia Mansion experiences a predictable temporary blackout due to unknown causes. His daughter, Josephine McGinnis, co-founded the New Orleans chapter of the American Red Cross, which used the home as a headquarters from 1939 to 1954, and even today, some guests report feeling someone tucking them into bed at night, or the sensation of someone sitting on the bed next to them. Others say they have felt someone holding their hand or watching over them. Late at night, people hear footsteps in the upstairs hall, an old pocket watch opening and closing, and even the sound of an old-fashioned music box. Although Magnolia Mansion does not allow children as overnight guests on more than one occasion, the handprint of a small child has been found on the bathroom rugs. Numerous guests taking photographs both inside and outside have captured images of ghosts. Fortunately, all the spirits who dwell in the mansion appear to be friendly, and visitors who stay there find their ghostly presence pleasurable and strangely comforting. During a recent renovation, the owners returned from an errand to find that the entire crew was sitting around doing nothing. When she asked why they were not working, they directed her to the dining room, parlors, and grand hallway. All these walls appeared wet, as if a water pipe had broken or a fresh coat of glossy paint was oozing down onto the floors. Yet neither was the case. There being no other logical explanation, the owner concluded that it must be ectoplasm. So, she spoke to the house and its spirits. She reassured them that she was trying to restore it to its former beauty and glory. She told them that they were more than welcome to stay as long as they did not harm or destroy the mansion, and as long as they did not hurt or scare her employees or her guests. She did, however, give them permission to frighten the wits out of anyone who entered the mansion with ill intent. She then said the Lord's Prayer and cleaned the ectoplasm off the walls and floors. The workers had flat out refused to do it and said that they would not be back to work until it was gone. In fact, many of them left that day and never returned. On at least 2 other occasions, it was clear that the spirits had heard the owner's prayer and were keeping up their end of the bargain. One day, when she was alone in the house with the live-in caretaker, she heard him frantically calling her to come to the dining room. There, she found him frozen by fear beneath a violently shaking chandelier. When she repeated her invocation to the mansion and said the Lord's Prayer, the chandelier immediately stopped shaking. Sensing that it was time for the caretaker to leave, she terminated his employment and sent him away, confident that the spirits had protected both her and the mansion. The next caretaker was on the telephone in the dining room one day when a 300-pound cypress kitchen door suddenly opened and slammed shut all by itself. A cold wind rushed past him and scared him out of the house. It turned out that neither of these men had been up to any good. But one of the owner's favorite experiences in Magnolia Mansion involved a couple who celebrated their honeymoon there. Shortly after they arrived, the husband called in a panic saying that his wife was not feeling well. The owner arranged for a taxi to take them to a nearby infirmary. Returning during breakfast the next morning, the couple reported that the hospital had found out that the bride was pregnant, and the doctor had ordered her to have complete bed rest for at least 1 day. Exhausted, they both lay down for a nap in their room named the Vampire's Lair. The bride, who was running a fever, left her covers off. Thinking she had felt her husband pull up the sheets over her, brushing her cheek, she opened her eyes to look at him and say, "Thank you, I love you," only to find him sound asleep on his side, facing away from her. She thought this to be a sweet and caring gesture, and was not scared by it. This was the first report of the mansion's resident spirit maid from the top floor coming downstairs to care for someone in need. Who she is remains unknown, but it is believed that in her lifetime she cared for the sick and the elderly and the children. When asked if Magnolia Mansion is haunted, the owner tells guests, "You'll have to tell us when you leave. Although we have friendly hosts and ghosts, the ghosts don't come with a guarantee." So, if you're looking to go to New Orleans and stay in the Garden District, maybe you should try and give this bed and breakfast a chance. And maybe you too will be taken care of by the upstairs maid. Good night, and thank you for coming.